Hi guys, this is MJ of MBTI Time, and I had a really long and fruitful discussion with an ENTJ. So for today's video, it's going to be discussing about the common misconceptions about types. And for today, it will be about ENTJs, but stay tuned for other videos. Yeah, let's get right to the video.
Hi, I'm Dan. I'm from TNE Personality Growth. You can check out my YouTube channel in the description below. And I'm an ENTJ personality type.
Hi, I'm MJ of MBTI Time, and I'm an INFP. And you can learn more about the 16 types on my YouTube channel, or you can visit also my Instagram at MBTI Time. What do you think are the common misconceptions about ENTJs?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think I'm arrogant, that I'm that I'm too intense. But I don't think that's true. I think an ENTJ is confident in their decisions, and it's not arrogance. It's not that they think they're better than everyone else. It's just that they like being quick, effective, and that can often mean blunt. And because they have a weaker FI, they might not consider the feelings of others. And so others can get easily upset by an ENTJ. But an ENTJ wants the best for them. They actually want the best for the community. They want the best for the group. They think the most efficient way to do things is better. And and especially an immature ENTJ can see others' feelings or their own feelings as an obstacle to be overcome. And in some ways, they're trying to help the other person by just smashing through their insecurities or smashing through their weaknesses or their doubts or hesitations. And so someone who's not an ENTJ can view that as being arrogant, that they think their perspective is better. I guess there's an element of that. But it's not coming from a selfish perspective. It's actually coming from a perspective of trying to help other people. ENTJs are always trying to help you. And one of the ways they're trying to do that is to help you overcome your insecurities, help you overcome your areas where you're not so confident. And that confidence and that intensity can get misunderstood as arrogance.
What is your response to the common stereotype of ENTJs being power and money hungry? Where do you think does it stem from, and what are your thoughts on that?
The stereotypes, I think, from some research that's been done, ENTJs certainly are the richest personality type. At least early on. I think I heard once that the ENTP can actually surpass us once they get to a more mature stage, that NE actually turns out to be really powerful for them, and they can explore really good business ideas once they overcome their procrastination. I don't think the ENTJ is money hungry, because you have to look at the motivations behind why does someone want money. For me, I'm actually I've become quite financially successful in a couple of businesses that I've started, some property portfolios, and some people would look at me as being money hungry. But for me, it's about financial security. I've just had a good way of looking into the market and being like, here's something that I could make money from, and here's how I can do it. And I've just naturally pursued those things. Even when I was young, I was quick to see the value in things. So I remember there was this newspaper which used to sell video game consoles like PlayStation 2s or something, and eBay had just started. And so I used to buy these, I used to ask, I think I'd saved up some money and I bought this big console with all these controllers and all these games, and I sold each of them separately this is when I was like 12, on eBay, started an eBay account. My parents didn't show me how to do that. It was just something that I learned to do on my own, and made, a couple of $100. And when you're 12, that's like huge amounts of money. And then I was able to use that profit to buy more things. So I don't think I'm like, money gives me freedom. It gives me the ability to pursue things that I want to do. It's not that I'm like money hungry for the sake of just pursuing money. It's just that I naturally can see gaps in the market, see things that I can do to make money. And so I'm going to do those things. Why wouldn't you? And I have a tenacity to actually achieve those goals. So once I see it, I'm able to know the first step to take, and then the second, and then the third, to actually make it happen, and very quickly. So I do think ENTJs are pretty good at making money, but not necessarily in a business. Perhaps that's why the ENTJs, like I think I've noticed in my job as work as a teacher, my personality can be quite abrasive, and teaching is definitely a feeling dominated profession, I would say. And so I think an ENTJ might be the one to like start a business or start a school rather than work their way through the ranks, because they're wanting to have that control themselves.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to power, I don't think an ENTJ is wanting to pursue power. People might look at an ENTJ as being manipulative and wanting power, but power doesn't really come into my mind at all. It's all about competency. It's like, who's the best? Like, I might take control of a social group or of a situation purely because I think the idea is good. The idea I have is good, or I can make that quick and effective decision. I'm not thinking about the power dynamics, which I think is a really, in like a feelings perspective. People who might have a high feelings are like aware of the social hierarchies. And actually for me, I was quite blind to the power dynamics of especially when I was a younger ENTJ at my workplaces. I would often go in and I would often like go to the boss and I'd tell them what I thought, or I would like, and I would upset the power dynamics. So I'd kind of place, even though I just started there, I'd start like working at a level I'd start just working at a level that was probably above my pay grade or above my position in the company. And so a lot of people could look at me and be like, he's power hungry. He wants that power. You know, he shouldn't want that power because he's only just started here. But for me, it's not about power at all. It's like, I think my ideas are good. And I think if you follow my ideas, the company will be better off. And so I'm just kind of just naturally going into these positions where I guess I have more influence and power, but not for the sake of power and not for the sake of money. But long answer, but that's my experiences in that space.
No, I understand. It's more of like a byproduct rather than a primary pursuit, especially for you. What do you think is something that you want others to understand more about ENTJs? Like, beyond the stereotypes, what do you want others to learn more about you that's not often discussed online, through memes, journals, articles, whatever?
I think if I look down at what's driving me, it's from a young age, I haven't wanted to waste my life or waste my potential. And so I'm always seeking to maximize the value that I can give to the world. A lot of people see ENTJs as selfish, but it's more about maximizing, like being the best person they can be. And you might upset people doing that, pursuing what you think is best, because if you live a life where you're just trying to fit in with everyone else, you'll probably get old, not really make a huge difference in the world, and just be a brick in the wall, so to speak. But an ENTJ is, I think, looking to surpass that. At least for me, I've been wanting to, my whole life, be the best version of myself, make a real difference, and actually help people. Like, I think my ideas can help people, or at least I want my ideas to help people. And that's a deep FI thing. It's like, an ENTJ actually has at their core of a well-intentioned FI, that they want the best for, at least for me, I've wanted the best for other people, and being able to develop myself is the path to do that. So that's what I'd say people don't understand about an ENTJ. It's not selfish, actually, a lot of the time. It might just appear that way.
Yeah. What would be your advice to younger ENTJs, especially as this kind of personality might sometimes invite opposition, and people might say bad things about you or misinterpret your intentions and the way you do things, whether in their careers or in school. What advice would you want to give them now that you're a more mature, older ENTJ, like stuff that you don't want to repeat or wish you learned early on, with
Yeah.
knowing the.
For me, when you're a teenager, you're trying to discover who you are. And the way you do that is by comparing yourself to others. And so the frame of reference of the people around you can be quite important. And what I realized is I was quite different to most people. I think statistically, most people are the sensory personality types. And so I was trying to emulate that, what was cool. But I wasn't that. And that actually made me feel not very popular, or it didn't make me very confident. So the first thing an ENTJ needs to develop is confidence. And I think they do. But the quicker you can develop that, then the quicker you can go on to the next stage. See, once the ENTJ develops confidence, they're almost going to be too confident. And that when you're too confident, you start to really rub others the wrong way. And it's confusing at first because you don't mean to. And it's kind of like shocking to you. Like, why am I getting this intense resistance from other people? One of the ways you can do that is by developing your FI. So that's the first thing for an ENTJ to do, is to develop your FI. I did a video on that, which has been quite successful. It's probably my favorite video I've done, where I distilled some really key ideas, improving your emotional vocabulary for one, or recognizing you never want to suppress who you are, but you want to know the right times to go full ENTJ mode, to when you like wield your TE as a weapon. Like I used to do that all the time. It was just my natural state of being, where I just smash down barriers and obstacles in front of me, and then realized like, oh, those barriers and obstacles were people. And now those people don't want to be around me anymore. Like, go figure. So developing your FI is really important. And I think the way the ENTJ does that is by using their NI actually. So I don't think you can't brute force your FI to be developed. You can't use your TE to develop the opposite judging function FI. You can't do that. You actually have to go through your auxiliary cognitive function. So for the ENTJ, this is true for any personality type. You can develop your weaker functions by going through your auxiliary functions. But for the ENTJ, what is that auxiliary function? It's introverted intuition. So finding that quiet solitude is really good for developing NI, and really good for reflecting on FI through that NI. And I talk about that in the video. Yeah, and that's hard to do in the modern world, where everything's competing for our attention. It's like you don't really have space anymore to be quiet, to be still, to be reflective, because Facebook, Spotify, Instagram, whatever, TikTok is just kind of sucking that time like a black hole away from your life. And I feel for younger people today. I think it's a lot easier for me before social media exploded.
Yeah, I agree. And thank you for sharing. And I think a lot of people, especially ENTJs, would really want to know, how do you even really develop your FI? Does that mean I have to be emotional? I don't think that's the case. And it's mostly just being more in touch with that deeper, more reflective side of you and how you do things with your DE and NI. And because I think that your FI influences your primary goals and pursuits, right? It's also what dictates what you do and what you don't do. So it really is important to develop that and harness that early on to avoid unnecessary heartache. So yeah.
Yeah, I think perhaps a weaker, immature ENTJ could genuinely be money hungry or power hungry, perhaps, because if you haven't developed that FI and the reasons for pursuing wealth or pursuing positions of influence, then perhaps it can be from a very unhealthy perspective. But if you can develop those weaker cognitive functions, you can do so in a more authentic way, in a genuine way, in a positive way. But there's still ways to go for me. I think learning, I need to see others more as individuals rather than try to apply them to my own preconceived ideas. That's probably what I'm working on at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for that, Daniel. I think that's going to be really helpful to many people who feel like they have been pinned down to this stereotype that they don't most often resonate with. And it's because I don't think ENTJs deserve to just be perceived as all of those titles. And there are indeed existing, maturing, developed ENTJs out there in the world who's just not like telling people what to do and like just making them conform to what they want. And that there are in fact ENTJs who really want to help the world, improve the systems, and maybe create a positive change in however way they can.
I don't know if I know any INFPs. I think I might know one actually. Yeah, but I think I annoy them a lot. I think I upset them, especially when we're playing like a board game or something. I've managed to offend them somehow. So I think I made one cry once accidentally.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I've been. Yeah, I feel like an ENTJ made me cry also years ago from work, not even real life. Because I think that ENTJs are great outside the workplace. It's just that when it comes to work, they're really very you know direct. And and if you're on a younger, immature INFP, it's easy to mistake that as confrontation or attack. And
huge issues with that. Like people would not talk to me at work. Like they'd have to get others to talk to me, because if they talk to me personally, I would just like shut down what they're saying, and they'd see it as like debate and like I was being aggressive, and I was just kind of just quickly stating my opinion, because my opinion comes very quickly to me naturally. So I had to like really reflect. I was like shocked. Like, why doesn't this person want to talk to me? Just tell me, but what? And that's that's why I think a lot of ENTJs start companies, you see, because like when they work within a company, they get frustrated by others, but they know how to do things. And actually, like they are successful. Like ENTJs generally are quite successful. And so if they can be in charge from the get-go, which is what it means to start a company, they can actually put those ideas into place straight away. But then it would probably be hard working under them, because maybe an ENTJ who starts a company out of frustration hasn't learnt to deal with the individual nuances of other personalities, and certainly the employees that they have. And then you just end up with a situation where, the boss thinks he's always right, but doesn't understand the nuances of the personalities who are actually helping him a lot in ways that perhaps he doesn't understand within the company, or she understand. I shouldn't use gendered language like that.
Yeah, and I think that's where it becomes stressful, when an ENTJ doesn't have a level of self-awareness to recognize that in order to get people to work with you, you have to also make an effort to work with them, which means sometimes stepping down or speaking a certain way, putting smileys within their emails.
That's something I put smileys in my emails all the time so I don't get misunderstood.
And choosing the right word sometimes, because I think that's one of the more common issues that they find in the workplace. It's like the ENTJ is always just telling people what to do and like expecting others to follow or do it without that, warmth and like that, hey, can you do this? It's more of like, let's do this. And it's like, where is it?
Yeah,
So,
they think the idea will speak for themselves. Like, oh, you'll want to follow me because my idea is good. And like, it's not that simple. And maybe your idea isn't so good as you think it is, actually,
exactly.
Mr.
Yeah. So it really requires a level of like, hey, maybe I'm not always right. And maybe there's a better way to say and do certain things, which I feel like many ENTJs, the more that they learn about themselves, the more they're able to become the better versions of ENTJs. And I have known the very few ENTJs in my life, I see that in them. And largely influenced also by faith values or just personal values. That's why I think,
Mm. Sorry, keep going.
yeah, I think a peak ENTJ is somebody who has the knowledge and the steps on how to become more like something. It's like once you know, then you know what to do moving forward, right? That's why you guys prefer people who just tell you what's wrong and what you did wrong rather than guessing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
ENTJ will never be offended if you tell them like why they're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you can tell them why they're wrong. Not just be like, you're wrong because it upsets me. It's like, that's not a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're wrong because
XYZ.
your ideas are bad. And that's like TI. That's why they work really well with TI, because the TI can like say, you're wrong and here's precisely why. And they're like, holy crap, you're right. and then they just put it into action. Yeah, me as a younger ENTJ was certainly like, I wanted to rid the world of emotions. Emotions were my enemy. They were like, it's almost if you've ever seen Star Trek, like Spock and the Vulcan race. It's like, they were like, yes, I want humanity to be more like that. No emotions at all, because emotions are barriers. But I know I'm wrong. Now I've matured, I know I'm very wrong. Sorry, I could keep talking for ages. I feel like you're keen to wrap this conversation up, and I guess I am too. I actually have a bunch of stuff I need to get done today, like heaps. So I'm just rambling here.
It's okay. I also have a session in a bit, so I really appreciate talking with you. And this was a really good first experience with me talking with somebody for content, collaborating with someone. So it was very insightful. I look forward to maybe a future collabs. So yeah.
I hope so. Yeah, no, you're very interesting to talk to.
I hope that people will learn a lot from this, especially from a perspective of an ENTJ.
Yeah, it's been great chatting with you today, and I appreciate the questions and the thoughtful reflection that you've been able to put into this interview.
Yeah, guys, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. Maybe Daniel will be able to answer that in our next video.
I like that. Cool.
Yeah.
Follow me on my socials at MBTI Time on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you're not sure if you're an INFP, INFJ, ENFP, INTJ, INTP, or any other type, book a typing session with me by visiting www.mbtitime.com. Links in the descriptions down below.